Hi. All right. I'd like to welcome everybody to our Tuesday, December 19th, 2023 Town of Ulysses Planning Board meeting. Do a roll call for the record.
For Rebecca Schneider,
Linda Little.
Bart Gregg,
Pete Angie, Chair.
Carl Plankowski, alternate. Mo Klein.
Tonight, we have one item on the agenda, which is a Van Noble Smokehouse project. I would like to add two items to tonight's agenda. One would be the Ag District, potential addition. And I would recommend adding that after Van Noble Smokehouse. And then after that, Niels would like to discuss training for board members.
One last.
One last time. And so, I'd like to add those two things to the agenda in that order. Could I get a motion to add those?
That takes care of the
Oh.
motions.
Second.
Add those.
Any discussion or any other additions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Tonight, Mo, you seem like you're ready to
No,
say
no,
something.
no, I'm waiting for you.
So tonight we are looking to approve the minutes of our December 5th meeting. Does anybody have any additions or amendments or edits to those minutes? I would accept a motion to approve the minutes of 12:5 as written.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So we have privilege of the floor, and it is, in this case, it's talk about anything that doesn't have a public hearing tonight. So it's really talk about anything that is of interest to the public that they'd like to bring to the planning board's attention. And limit is 3 minutes, and I'd like to invite anyone in our audience or anyone online to avail themselves of privilege of the floor. All right. Since it appears that nobody is wishing to take privilege of the floor, we will move on then to our first order of the night, which is actually, as a matter of fact, in order to give them time to get here, I'd like to amend the agenda to start first off with the Ag District. And then move to training and then move to Van Noble. Could I get a motion for that?
Yeah.
Second,
Yep.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right. So if you, I just sent it over, but a brief history. The county is doing a review of the ag districts for the county and the town of Ulysses. They do this every 8 years. They remove some properties and they add some properties. Being in the ag district gives you certain advantages. If you're a farmer, you have to be an active farm to be in the ag district. It essentially allows most of our zoning to essentially not be under our purview if you're included in the ag district. And things like water quality, etc., are overseen more by, I believe it's the DEC. And so things that would require our, special permit hearing or overview does not apply to many of the projects and buildings in an ag district. There are portions of land that are actively farmed that get ag assessment. That means that they are getting some of the benefits of being in the ag district, but are not officially in the ag district because they only do this every 8 years. There's a portion of land in the town of Ulysses. It's at 1618 Teganic Boulevard, and it is in the conservation zone. And initially, when Crystal Buck came and gave her presentation, we asked her to come back. We said, please bring a map that gives an overlay of where the conservation zone is in relation to the ag districts in the town. She came back, she gave another presentation. We had a discussion and we agreed that about 4 of the parcels that they were adding, that they wanted to add to the ag district seemed appropriate. They were contiguous with other farmland. They were not near sensitive areas. we agreed with the removal of an area of land near Gannett Creek from the ag district because it seemed too close to that sensitive area. And then we also recommended against adding this portion at 1618 to Gannett Boulevard to the ag district because it's in the conservation zone. It's sort of, on a slope. And we felt that being in the conservation zone, it was prudent to not add it. Because we wanted to maintain that level of oversight that we have. There are other portions in the conservation zone that are ag district.
Mhm.
So that was our recommendation. Mo asked a question to her. Well, she came back and she said in an email, the landowner would really like to be added to the ag district, and they are participating in the CREP program. I think it's Conservation Reserve Easement Program, and I believe it's a federal program. So I said, well, let me, please do a formal note to the planning board with this information and the map. She did, she sent that to you all. I asked for comments. Initially, they were gonna have their meeting yesterday, but it actually was moved out till next week. She was able to answer Mo's question, which was, what year did this come into the CREP?
Right.
And are there any penalties for leaving the CREP? And that's the email that I forwarded. It's a 10 to 15 year contract. Theirs expires in 2033. And
I think it was 9,
It's 2033.
yeah, 9:30
Yeah.
or something, 20, yeah.
and there is a penalty for leaving. You need to pay back whatever, whatever advantages you've gotten in tax breaks, etc. And so I did send along sort of the outline of the CREP, sort of what their goals are. There is a lot in there about water quality conservation, water quality improvement even. So I wanted to bring this forward. Yeah.
There was only a few other things that she didn't send because I spoke to her on the phone.
Okay.
They only hay it once instead of twice a year,
Okay.
and that's important because twice.
Yeah,
Because why?
Excuse me?
Why is it important that
you
there's?
didn't know.
Oh, because it's a they're trying to conserve the property for wildlife and water quality.
Okay,
And if you take the hay out twice, you're bringing down.
okay,
Okay, so they only do it once. And that's the object of what they're doing is they're trying to preserve the property and also the water quality of the lake.
okay.
So that was the reason why they wanted to, that's why it's in the CREP.
Did you,
Assessment.
yeah, did you happen to ask what happens if they sell the land before the contract runs out? Does it go with the title to the land?
If they sell it, they would have to come up with penalties for the,
That too,
Yeah.
because that would be the same as terminating it.
right, and that
Okay.
would mean all the taxes
Yeah.
and whatever else
Right,
that would go along with it.
Wow.
So, yeah, they don't plan on selling it. The way I was told is they want to keep it the way it is.
yeah.
No, I
no,
can only what they,
Right.
what I was told, right,
Yep, right.
So-
Yep.
but I mean,
Good
they
answer.
could sell it tomorrow for all I know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, right,
what they
yeah.
said, this is what they said.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I feel like this is a real fundamental question of like, do we add more ag district parcels to the conservation zone? Or do we not? I think in this case,
Yeah.
one could argue that you could add it because it has this protection for another 10 years. And it'll be within 8 years that it'll get reviewed again, in which case we could say, remove it from the ag district. Now, they may not do that. It's up to the county. The county may add it against our recommendation.
Yeah.
But, the protection is there, but then at the same time, do we want to get into the practice of removing land?
And
That's
there-
been added,
Right,
because that's disruptive to people's planning
right.
and flow as well.
and what exactly, given their goals for it, does the ag district protection give them? Because the big difference, because they already get the ag assessment, because it is
Right.
cultivated. And they do so the only thing that I think I got from it is that if they wanted to build a big barn, nobody could come in and say anything about it.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
that's the question, right? And then, and so, we know what, we may have an idea of what their intent is at this point in time, but moving forward,
is the question. The other thing is, what precedent does this set
Mm-hmm.
for other landowners in the area for future, questions along this line?
Mhm.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, they could start, actually cultivating the property. If they want, and that's right, they can put a barn up, they can farm it, and put livestock there, whatever, if they're in the ag district, that's
Right.
the only difference.
So what does it do to, since most of our zoning protections are taken away, like, if they wanna sell off a chunk of that land or whatever, they can do it, right? A lot of our requirements for land coverage and all, no
I-
longer apply.
But at that point, they would still have to pay back whatever money
Yeah,
they
but
got.
I'm thinking about if they sell it, it's worth a ton of money and somebody may say, oh, that much taxes, no problem, I'll do it.
Right,
Whereas
exactly,
if
yeah.
it's in the conservation zone, those are the regulations they have to follow and then, which
Right.
we have in place to protect that property. The conservation reserve program is good, I mean, but it's
Yeah.
not like all, I mean,
Yeah.
what it is you go, okay, I'll put in a stream side buffer. The government pays 75% of it and I pay 25%, so there's always some amount I pay, and then I get tax relief for however many years, that's it.
Right.
So it's not like it's not that, I mean, it's good, but it's not as strong as our conservation zoning is.
Well, that was the reason I asked that question about how long the contract and if they can just remove it anytime they want. And as you can see, they can remove it anytime they
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, so sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that's, then they just would have to pay the back taxes or whatever that they've gotten over those years. And yeah, if you're selling it for $5 million, what's a couple $100,000 for taxes?
so one thing to consider is in order for it to remain in the ag district, it has to be farmed. It has to be ag. So if they did sell it, if they did subdivide it and sell it for housing, then the ag district assessment would become null and it would go back to conservation.
Well, that's the
So-
assessment. It would
I
still be
mean,
in
I
the
know, I mean, the ag district,
right?
I believe it, I could be wrong about this. I believe it has to be farmed to be in the ag district, or is
But
that
they
not
can
the
take a
case?
section
No.
off and sell it and still have the remainder in the ag district.
Right, and I
So
don't
if they
think,
took off 10 acres and sold it, then they would still keep the farm.
yeah, I think the ag district is it's the
It's
potential to
it's
be
the potential to be
farmed.
farmed, right, because there are a lot of
Yeah.
woodland lots in the ag
Right,
district.
yeah.
Right, okay,
So that's.
you're right,
not-
it is the assessment.
Yeah,
So interesting question, if they did subdivide and sold it for housing and it's in the ag district as opposed to assessment.
Mhm.
Would ag district regulations apply?
Not to the housing,
Not to
no,
the housing,
not to the subdivision. no.
That's what I'm
Right,
questioning.
No, it becomes residential then.
Is it?
Otherwise, they can
Right.
take 10 acres, but they'd have to consider it, it would have to still be ag, and if they're gonna build a
Right.
house, now it becomes residential.
Right,
does that
And
then come back to us to? have a
Well,
say
they
in
can
what's
build in
built?
small houses for their like workers.
yeah.
So you can actually start the process of building housing,
Mhm.
saying, okay, we're getting workers and we're gonna build, so many small houses because we need that much. Well, then, suddenly that has value as residential and it's
Mhm.
harder to get rid of that. So
Yeah,
I'm.
Well, that's how a lot of houses started around here,
Right,
Yeah.
probably true.
Mhm.
very popular years ago.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like the protections that it provides, and I think if everything continued as it is right now, it would probably be adequate to maintain our goals of preserving conservation zone, but it is true, we don't know what the future holds within the next 8 years. And I am hesitant to add ag district to the conservation zone.
So my,
yeah, and she didn't say at all exactly why she thinks the ag, being in the ag district would provide her advantages at this stage. I didn't read it in the note unless I
Right,
missed
no.
something.
I mean, I think they're trying to. I mean, I know that they did present one area to remove when they came and talked,
Mm,
but they presented about 6 areas to add.
mhm.
And it does seem like they are see it as a favorable thing to expand the ag district
Mhm.
as opposed to ag assessment.
Because of the
in-
avoidance of local zoning.
For many reasons, I'm
Essence.
sure, but I'm not.
Well, I don't like what else. I mean, that's a primary one.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I can,
yeah, because if they're already getting the financial
yeah,
incentives through CRUD, then
Yeah.
what would be,
right, right. What's the other
if
incentive?
it's building zoning?
right.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So,
Prep looked like a good program. Though.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
are there any other advantages that folks are aware of
Not
being in the ag district?
that I can think
No,
of.
the only advantage is that they don't have to come to us
Yeah.
and put up buildings. About it.
Do you know
Well,
anything?
know
Well,
anything? Yeah,
Yeah.
One thing I've heard her say multiple times is part of that is notifications on deeds when they're selling it, so they're, you know,
yeah.
so I think that's one of the.
It's a
biggest-
selling feature. Yeah.
Notifications on the deed that you are in the ag district. Is that what?
Some smells, things like that.
Yeah, like, and avoiding nuisance lawsuits, which is.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
part of the ag assessment, which they have already.
Right. No, the ag assessment doesn't give you avoidance.
I think it does. I think it does.
Yeah, tell me
I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah,
Gee, good to know.
Yeah. I think that was one of the main things.
For the assessment?
Yeah, I know
Okay.
for the assessment, you have to maintain a certain level of income on your farm,
Mhm.
whereas I think for the ag district, you don't, because we have
Right.
portions of it that are just wooded. So that may be another part too. All right, so I'm hearing from most, I haven't heard from you, Carl. What are your thoughts?
Well, since the land is already cleared, one of the early things we were discussing with this was the possibility of somebody coming in there and clear cutting the land. Out of the 62 acres that's in that property right now, there's approximately 50 acres of it are two big open fields. And they're relatively reasonable slope going up there. It makes a horseshoe shape, and the top part, the closing part on the top above the house, and that has mature trees on it up there.
Mhm.
Now, above them, there's another big house that's just being built off of Willow Grove up there, the property that sits right above them up there, but that's another big open property sitting right above them. So, you know, my feeling is part of our stuff we have in our, how we want to deal with the town, we want to preserve farmlands, we want to encourage farmers to stay in business as farmers.
Mhm.
Well, this is a set of a farmland, it's an active piece of farmland. And yet here we are saying, no, you can't be part of the ag district, which would give them additional benefits as an active farm.
Mhm.
So I think we're violating a couple different sections of our long-term planning for the town by doing this.
Mhm.
And since the property is already open, if it was still all woodland and that, and then you're gonna do anything with it, then you got a huge amount of erosion, that sort of stuff.
Sure.
There is a property that sits in the center of that horseshoe that has, intermittent streams on both boundaries of it that come down through this property. So there are stream setbacks even for the DEC, because both of these streams are stuff that USGS recognizes. They're not something that we picked up from the Tompkins mapper or something like that.
Mhm.
So those restrictions are already in there for the DEC to deal with on this property. So looking at all of that, my recommendation, I sent it to
Mhm.
Pete, was that we go ahead and approve it. I realize that this issue of setting a precedent for adding properties in the conservation zone, and it limits our ability to do that, but I didn't put enough effort in to try and figure out if they go to divide the property, does that jump back into the point that we get a say-so in it? The property, to split a piece of property,
For subdivision, yeah.
yeah. So we would get a bite at the apple there to say, you can do this, you can't do that. So that's really my slant on this.
Mhm.
I think, Carl, I hear you about promoting farmland and promoting farming in Ulysses. I do see part of our, like, an equally important part of our comprehensive plan is to preserve water quality and well, I would say water quality. And just looking at, with land that's cleared, we are probably gonna have a different setback than the DEC in the conservation zone. Than if we didn't, than if the DEC control that, like, I think it's like a 25 or 50 foot setback, for the conservation, so for ag.
Restrictions, yeah.
And then for conservation zone, I believe it's greater, even with the land cleared, we still have the ability to, have input into how things are built in a way that will protect the water quality in a way that I'm not as confident that the DEC does through strict ag. You know, just strictly zoning for ag. Because I know it's not as comprehensive as what we have for conservation, so that's where I'm coming in, putting the water quality piece a little higher than
I'm gonna add to
Yeah.
that, so
there.
it's nice how thorough you are,
Yeah.
and you do look at the bigger picture and
Yeah.
all. Our conservation zone is a very thin strip relative to the total town. And so almost the rest of the town is open for agriculture. This is the one area that we said, this has not just value for water quality, because it has steep slopes, but also for wildlife. As a corridor, that's what Clear Lakes Land Trust keeps telling us, look, you've got one of the Diamond Trail, it's for wildlife as well. It's looking down for the scenic views, looking down at the river. So it's not, this is a small stretch where I think we have stronger regulations. I wish it were more of the town. And so for me, there's we have most of the town where farmland, we should be protecting farmland soils. And I will fight tooth and nail that we have prime ag soils that we should be protecting from excessive development. I mean, for you and I can have a great conversation about that. But the conservation zone is unique. And that's where most of our natural areas are, our unique natural areas. That's where the bald eagles have their nests. I could go on. So again, you're thorough thinking about the whole picture, but this to me has its own special things that we have got to protect, and they lose that. And it's only through the zone that we gave to the conservation zone that have allowed us to do this in terms of coverage and removing trees and the size of the properties and the frontage. So, no, I would argue strongly we're not gonna benefit by this.
And and in addition to that, I don't see anything that really precludes it continuing to be farming.
Yeah.
And they're getting the few advantages that there are to keep farming in a probably less than productive environment anyway. So it doesn't mean that that's not desirable to still farm that property if the soil's good. Yeah, and there's advantages there.
I mean, I think keeping it in conservation zone isn't stopping them from meeting their stated goals. You know, they said, hey, I really want to make this into a dairy farm and I want to have housing for my workers. And they said, we want to do all these things that we just really can't do, and but they're not saying that. They're saying we want to keep it as is, we want to keep paying it, and we want to preserve it, and we're actually doing the prep, and that's giving them some financial advantage. I don't think we're harming them by harming this landowner by keeping it in the conservation zone. Despite them wanting it to be in the ag zone,
And if the county overrides us.
then they override us.
We
Are
should
they?
throw our opinion in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
agreed.
well,
Like,
we don't
that's
that's really
seriously
what
no,
we're
we should
doing
throw
is,
our
yeah.
opinions. That's what we're doing, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm a non-voting member tonight, so you guys really.
No,
no, I mean, but I value your opinion, you are very thorough.
I mean, it is a really strong.
Yeah.
Counter to the way we're going, so it's just, it is subjective to a large degree.
I don't think so. I
Well,
don't think
no,
it's objective.
okay.
I think it's actually, this is, I believe there's this process called the salami tactics, all right? And it's where, you have this thing that you all like, and you're gonna take a little piece off, and it's for good reasons. And then somebody else comes in with another
Yeah.
little slice.
Bad things,
And this
yeah.
is what has happened to most of our natural areas, is one little piece at a time. You have to be vigilant and protective. And so here's a piece that, I mean, this guy's not dependent on this, like, oh, my farm's gonna stop, in which case we'd have oh my God, economically, are we gonna crush this person? No, they have a good viable farming system. They have the CREP in place, so they don't really, this is not the place to have the salami slice get taken off. So I don't agree that this is, kind of like, but how are you gonna, are you gonna take a vote?
So
How-
I think
How are you
it'd be
gonna
a
do
good
this?
idea to take a vote, just because, we've had some very, some variety of opinion tonight, but I think we should also, you know, have a statement to the county. And so I think I would like to take the vote on the statement as opposed to a yes or no.
Sure.
And I think, I would propose that our statement say that, we are opposed to the addition of 1618 to Gannett Boulevard to the ag district on the grounds that it is located within the conservation district of the town of Ulysses, which is a unique area that has special protections that we do not wish to forfeit. Period.
As I said,
Yeah, well said. It doesn't give them anything really substantively to come back on this about. It's just like,
Yeah, so I would
Um,
accept a motion.
Wait,
Or
wait,
any
I just wanna
additions.
ask you
Yeah.
a question, and I didn't want to interrupt you.
Sure.
Is that the area? Yeah.
No.
They were, because this is Ford, right? That. This is Ford's property. It's right, there was somewhere up in here.
Yeah. We're talking here, so it's.
Yeah, but this is what it says.
Yeah, that was pre-existing, because he's. If you look at the website, it's.
Okay, so it's not this piece of here. Okay, that's right. What we call it for- I remember that was in this area there, very close together. It was just about another piece of property a while back that was doing some illegal items, and I was wondering, because it's very close to this one. So I just asked Neil, if this is very close to it. It's not. Okay. It's far away. So, just making sure.
I would accept is there any additions or any, I would accept a motion to, make that statement to the county in regard to ag assessment for this parcel.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And Niels, Molly, you got the wording?
Yep.
Okay, great, thank you.
Do you want us to send that out?
Would you? Yeah, thank you. All right, so we had put train next in our second modification of the agenda. Niels, is that fairly quick?
It can be.
Okay, sounds good.
get trained.
So as far as the town required training, I think there's 2 board members I'm not now.
We know who we are.
Been in contact with Blixie, so if there's any questions on that, please let me or Blixie know. The other request I have is to just verify either to me or to Carissa on the 4-hour training for 2023. And I need that, or Carissa needs that information by January 2nd for the town board meeting.
For 2023.
But I would say not for our very new members. I mean, these two guys. See Michael Boggs shaking his head, yes.
Everybody needs, or should have, by state law, 4 hours of board training for the planning board.
All right.
And it's a request from me. It shouldn't be done in the 12th month of the year. It should be done in the first month.
It's a reasonable
You're serving on the
request,
planning
Mike.
board. Yeah,
Yeah.
it gives you guys, we have some senior members and you're a senior member as well. Have an idea of what you're doing. But new members, it gives them an idea of like, oh, what does it mean to be on the plan?
Right.
That- that's why
And
it's
so
so
I say it's a reasonable request for senior members. And these 2 guys started, and I don't disagree with you that it helps, that it
Well,
helps. a
the
bit.
new members, yeah, get it done, I sent that stuff out, and some of it's in December,
Uh-huh.
which I realize is busy for everybody's schedule, because you got family things. But
Yeah.
if you do some of those and get them done as early as you can in 2024, right? So,
Yeah.
You know,
So I'm hearing for these new members, early in 2024.
Well, for me, it's not an issue. All I gotta do is listen tomorrow night and I've got my 4 hours
yeah,
already.
that's awesome, thank you very much. Yeah.
I would like to do that, except I'm
Yeah.
available tomorrow.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, I have no problem
As,
doing it.
as far as like,
Yeah.
and as far as like, you know, there's
There's
reports.
the reporting, or the.
They're very quick, very simple. There's a test at the end and that's it.
No, but the one that he's listening to, like Bart's not
The
able
one-
to make it.
Mr.
We're gonna
Boggs
have one on
put
Monday.
out there, one of them is tomorrow night. It's Wednesday night. I missed the one last week. I was out to dinner with my daughter, but.
Right, yeah, it's just hard time
Yeah.
here to do that.
Well, and so if somebody can't make it but can see their recording.
Well, there's
is that-
more of those, so that
There's
link I
more.
sent you, there's gonna be more coming along.
Right, but
There's also.
But they're
from
all
the state.
linked.
Yes,
They're all-
Yeah, I did the ones from the state,
I think
they're
they're
hour
all
and a half.
right.
And I did
Yeah, I
them
thought
already,
there
yeah.
were some
Yeah.
just static.
Very easy, yeah.
there are, but
Yeah,
if you
there's
read
like
the
Chris
not so
or
fine
Lonnie
print,
knows. Needles.
You had
it
it
won't
all.
give you a certificate for review.
Just one question, so. Folks that can't attend on Wednesdays, and I'm speaking for Bart here,
Thank you.
Is it possible to review the recording and you
Well,
can't get a
just-
certificate through that?
Yeah, well, if you look at the site, there's more coming up.
You can
And
do
just-
these anytime. You
Yeah,
don't have to
exactly.
do it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
You
No,
do it
you don't
today,
get
you
a
do it
There's
do
a.
it tomorrow.
But you don't get a certificate.
Yes, you do.
Well, if you don't get a certificate, print out a copy of the
Yeah.
results of the test at the end.
See, certificate.
Because you get either
That's all
one
you
way or
get.
the other.
Okay.
The first time I did one of those courses, my computer wasn't talking to my printer, so I went back and redid the course when it was talking to it, so I could print
Oh,
out
no.
the
Oh, you
certificate.
did that. Oh, dear. Good for you.
I have the luxury of time that I can waste like
Thank
that.
Jesus.
Well, and it sounds like this.
I don't want you to be in trouble.
So much for quick.
All right, well,
All right.
so yes,
We'll get it done,
trainings, we will get it done, Michael, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for providing some of those opportunities too. All right, so that brings us to Van Noble Smokehouse Project. Welcome, good to see you. So last time you were here, you know, we got an excellent presentation of your plans and you know, we sent it on to the town board. The town board said, yep, we think this is a very interesting project and we'd like to send it back to the planning board to provide their input on what a potential zoning district would look like. And so since we last met, which is a while ago, I understand there might be some changes to your plans in regard to, particularly in regard to what percentage of your operation is processing versus what percentage is restaurant. And so I just wanted to invite you to fill us in on what changes you might have made since you last presented.
We got some of that, we can get connected to the Zoom link, I guess I should have done that already.
If you log on, I can give you screen sharing privilege.
Yeah, how do I find the link?
Go to the
Sorry.
website.
Okay, on it.
No pressure, it's early, 7:30, we're used to staying here,
Oh,
you know.
we've got 2 or 3 hours left.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I have to go home and take a course.
Me
Easily
too.
Town hall, guys.
Maybe while he's connecting, board members, I would just turn your attention, and
Yeah,
I'm sure
thank you,
you probably
Kyle.
looked at it, to the potential development district wording that Neil sent out.
Yeah.
You want feedback on that now?
Not yet, let's let him make his.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then we'll have a whole discussion about it.
Okay.
All right, sorry about this technical
No
delay there,
worries.
but. I guess I can start answering that first question, which is, yeah, about the amounts of use. I mean, it's a little bit, as you guys can imagine, it's a business and it evolves, so we're expecting. You know, this is a plan, but it might not exactly happen as planned, but right now I'm expecting maybe like 80% of our business, maybe 75. It's like currently about 75 to 25% is catering to butchering, right? Or hot food to products. And I expect that to potentially grow to as much as 50%. So the butchering and growing over time as we get this new facility and we have you know, USDA license potentially, just efficiencies that'll allow us to grow the butchering end of things. So over time, that could end up being about 50-50. Most likely butchering will be, lower than the catering end. And so majority of it, what we're gonna sell is hot food and services. I cannot get, can you go to the phone? Yeah, that, I don't know why that. After not working. Oh, the start asterisks. Sorry, guys.
I get you, everyone.
Really should have done that ahead of time. Asterisks, that's the missing one. Okay. Take it. Yes, it's official now. So I have, this is gonna be worth it. I know it's taking some
okay.
time, but we've got all the maps and a lot of updates. Cheryl and I have been working on revising the plan. And we're okay. And it's a much prettier building now, which is exciting. And yeah, we've gotten the parking dialed in. So I think we responded to a lot of your questions on this.
Progress.
Share screen. Great. There. Okay, well, that was heavy. Okay, here we are.
You might have to turn your mic off, just because we have.
It is. I muted everything. All right, okay, so here we are, obviously. So this is what I'm gonna cover. What the permitted uses are that we want to have in this new zone. What we see as the building occupancy classifications, that's based on Cheryl's gonna talk about. Oops, sorry, the DOT property line, which we might have touched on last time, but it's become more and more apparent how severe the property line is, and it's not a right of way. This is a property line on the 96 side, so I'll show you guys that in depth and what the implications are. The parking area has been revised due to the property line, and so I'll show you that and we can discuss. Signage, same thing. Working on the stormwater plan, and so noise management, the subdivision of the only other things. So jumping into it. As I said, restaurant, bar, that's what I sent on the 10th, shooting for 80% of our business to be from hot food in the restaurant bar end of things, 20% first would be from butchering. This is the kind of scheme right now, like gives you a little bit of parameters on what we're imagining for the restaurant bar. Some numbers in terms of the occupancy and the people. I personally, I guess in my mind right now that I would like to shoot for capacity of 180 to 200 people as our very, like upper end capacity, with including our event tent. And yeah, so I mean, I think we talked a little bit about it. We're gonna have some patio seating, some seating inside that would handle about 30, and then 75 people would be sitting out in the yard, picnic table style. And then the tent, the tent could easily hold 200 people by itself, but I'm assuming it's only an additional capacity of 75 that, not all tables are going to be filled at the same time. So the total capacity of 180, 200 people. Do you have any questions about that use? Like what I mean, it's already there. It's already a permitted use in the zone, so it's not much of a yeah. Any questions about that? You?
No, the only thing is, I wish we had this so we could see it.
Ah,
Screens.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's just a lot going on, and it was hard to
Well, if
get
you
this
could
out.
send it
right.
to us. so we
Oh, I
can
will
guys-
definitely. I
Okay.
got this done literally 3 seconds ago as I was sitting there, so I will send it to you right after this. I'm just gonna try to get some meals beforehand, but Okay, so butchering retail, as you know, is the other use that we're shooting for within this zone. 20% of our operations do that for right now, eventually as much as 50%. We operate currently under a Tompkins County Health Department food service establishment permit. This facility basically just enhances what we currently do around butchering, which is making products and selling directly to the end customer. The only exemption that allows us to wholesale currently is the exemption that allows us to sell up to $60,000 worth of raw meat to wholesale customers, right? The future version of things, the USDA version, I think there's been some questions about what's the difference between the permits and, you know, do we do slaughtering? So this is kind of, I'm trying to lay out very clearly at least all the points I could think of like what's the differences and similarities between these two. And so, I mean, the real distinction is like what the marketing channels are that have access to. The type of product coming in is going to be exactly the same under either the health department or the USDA license. I'm getting raw primals in, they're my pig. Well, currently they're my pigs. They could accept other people's animals too. But these are primals, so they're carcasses that have been cut, cleaned, gutted, all the gross stuff's out of it, drained of blood. We're not talking about excessive amounts of blood or anything like that. We're just talking about meat, just like you buy it at the store, except bigger pieces. And then I take that meat and I butcher it down, which is the second part of the process. First part is slaughtering, then there's evisceration, which is gutting and cleaning, and then there's butchering. And I only do butchering. Just to separate those.
It is gonna
pieces.
remain that way?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't ever want to do slaughter. I don't want to, there's no need to.
Okay,
Financially, it makes a lot more sense to do this model too.
okay,
Like the expense of running a slaughterhouse and the inspection and the intensity of the inspection around those things is much higher, and like the bar for error is much, you know, lower,
sure,
right?
okay, all right,
So, no, we don't want it to be a slaughterhouse,
okay.
just to double down on that.
Could I just ask you, should the TCHD versus USDA, these are the licenses, which one are you applying for? Are you applying for both?
Well, yeah, it would be both. Initially, it would be just the health department license, and it would be an option of ours. Like, that's why we're building this facility, is the option to become a USDA facility, which is an additional license. We would still retain the health department license because we need that for all the rest of our food service establishment related operations.
What license are you going for right now? I think you once mentioned a 20C.
No, no, just the health department food service establishment license. It's the only license we need.
Well, what about the restaurant?
Health department food service establishment license covers everything.
Yeah.
Covers both butchering operations and the restaurant. The butchering, don't even, right now, the way it's set up, we're not a butcher shop we're basically a restaurant. Think of it as a restaurant goes and buys raw meat, they process it and cook it into something, and then they sell it. It's the same thing we're doing. It's just our meat we're doing. And it's slightly less processed maybe than a lot of people get it. But it's no different than what a restaurant's doing. And that's why we're allowed to do what we're doing, is because other processors, people at restaurateurs are doing the same thing all the time. So, yeah, so we're gonna stick with that license no matter what. And then once we're ready to, we can also get this USDA, permit that would allow us to do the wholesaling. That's on top of the health department food establishment license.
Okay.
And the wholesaling, is that what would bring your business more to 50-50?
Yeah, well, that's part of it, but also hopefully this retail front, the butcher cases there do really well, and hopefully our CSA grows as part of this business, we're hoping that each of the elements grows, but it's a business, you respond to what happens, not all of this can be planned out for the teachers.
Right.
So, yeah, we've got a lot of irons in the fire, and we'll kind of be going with what works as it comes, but this came to mind in the past few weeks, and I wanted to include this here. It's not a significant part of our usages, but I want to include it in the zone because, and I don't know if there's a distinction possibly between like full-scale agriculture and like micro agriculture or gardening or something of that nature, but. You know, we want to be able to have a hoop house up or like perennial gardens up, or you pick like apples and those kinds of things, like features that we're gonna be building in. Like, we're a very, you know, local food focused business, and that's a big piece of what we're trying to highlight here. So to not be able to also grow food on the property would be ridiculous.
Hmm.
And we don't want anybody being able to tell us down the road, oh, you're not in an ag district, you're not on a farm zone, so you can't grow anything. So I would like to have some element of agricultural usage built into the
Is
zone.
that property good enough for agriculture?
There's enough field space for plenty of trees and.
I'm
berries.
not talking about field space, I'm talking about the ground itself.
Well, yeah, you can revitalize almost any
Yeah.
ground, but yeah, I mean, it's not prime ag land by any means, but
Yeah.
of course you can like.
Looks
plant
really
berries and-
bony.
Yeah, we're talking UPIC. I mean, it's not, we're not doing it, we wouldn't be doing this for commercial production,
Yeah, just for.
just for the
a
enjoyment of
U-pick,
the
yeah,
kids, yeah.
I know it's big, yes.
So raspberries, some sun fruit,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But again, like, I fear that if we don't build that in now, that we would potentially leave ourselves at risk of somebody saying no in the future.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything in our zoning that precludes a garden or an orchard or something. Yeah.
Well, if it's
And
not
it's
in
very-
the zone though, you
Yeah,
could say that
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not allowed.
Because
In
they're
a
development
select-
district, everything.
This is a
There's
district. that has
nothing
to be
in the
mentioned.
zone.
But I
Yeah.
mean, in the zones that we have
Right,
fixed,
right.
right?
but this,
we don't-
because this is a unique one,
Yeah.
if it doesn't say it, it doesn't.
You want to spell it out?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
right, okay, got
Do you
it.
have a list of all these items?
Yeah,
Okay,
there's only the three usages, the restaurant, butchering, and agriculture.
oh, okay.
And I mean, currently restaurant is permitted in business zone and it's the butchering that's not. So that's really where,
Yeah,
why we're here,
Yeah.
essentially.
Right.
Rather
Because it
than
was
just
with the
lumping it
business,
in
it
with
would
the
be no
business
problem.
zone.
Yeah.
Sorry. Jump there. All right. You know what water bottle. Thank God. I was dying up here.
You don't have to be nervous.
No, I'm not nervous, I'm just, yeah. whatever. So, this is our exciting updated site plan. Maybe I'm gonna zoom in on this, so don't worry,
Alright.
but yeah, so this is what's going on there?
there you go.
Oh, you're doing that. I was like, what-
Get out of
what
the
is that moving? Okay, so you can see the changes to the parking area, pretty obvious from this level. You can still see the location of the tent. You can see we've made this parking area along Halseyville, a proposed, like a future parking area, overflow parking that I'm not gonna do right off the bat. We're gonna survive on these 55 spaces up here. Anyways, I jumped ahead a little bit. I'm gonna talk about parking, but these are just our new drawings for right now. So I wanted to show you each of these. Like, this is the new floor plan. I'll get more into that. This is the new elevation. And we've changed some of the pitch on the roof so that I think it's a little bit more of an interesting building than it was before, so we'll talk through that. First, I wanted to start with this property line issue though. It's not an issue, it's just reality. This is not a right of way. The dotted line is the highway department's property. And so we are not even really asking for, you know, like, yeah, like a right, like to use part of their right of way. We're asking to take their property or use their property. If we want to do, per se, for instance, like keep the sign that's up there, the green dot in front of the building, the green square, that's the existing Bar Angus sign. We can't use that, we can't improve it, we can't fix it. Technically, we can't even remove it without getting permission from the Department of Transportation.
So I just have a question. So you're saying 96, they own 96
They own, yeah, all
from
of,
side to side.
from side, not beyond side to side. They own 12 feet off. the edge of the
It's hard
building.
to see from here, so that's.
Yeah,
why.
well, here's
Oh, there
what's
you
up.
go.
The yellow line is our property, or is the property line, and the
Yeah.
building, the existing building is in the hard pink there, which is 12 feet away from the edge of the building.
So
So,
that's the
so
DOT's,
the driveway is not
Yeah.
part of the property.
yeah,
All the flat ground that's all along 96 is not part of the property. You can't develop it, can't touch it, can't put a tree on it. And And believe me, I pursued this and they're not interested. They're not interested in talking, they're not interested in, they don't care about your business, they don't care about the property is. The other distinction here is that this is a 13-foot or 12-foot additional, no, sorry, I think it's a 17-foot additional appropriation that was made in 1946. We dove into these maps with the surveyors. Other properties along 96 have a 30-foot setback from the edge of the road. It's a 47-foot setback from the edge of the road. So it's 62 feet to the center line. And so there's a major barrier here to development.
So
Can't put it-
we're looking at the picture here. So you're saying that the sign is on the DOT?
It's well into the DOT land.
Really?
Like, we're not even talking a little bit, we're talking a lot of it. Like, and so, I mean, yeah, anyways, you can just go,
Okay, yeah.
imagine all the implications of this,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's significant.
So your building as proposed is the lighter pink, right?
Is the
Yeah,
striping area.
yeah.
So you're moving it, you have to move it back then?
No, no,
Yeah.
our cooler is gonna exist right on the existing line, if you see,
Yeah, stand right up there.
so, these are our coolers.
Yeah,
This pink line is the existing line of the building.
yep.
And then this is the property line, 12 feet here. And so we're still gonna be 12 feet off the edge. We can't have, yeah, so I mean, it just,
So you won't meet
Where-
the 30-foot setback with,
if there's a 30-foot setback, I don't think I'll be doing this project. I'll tell you
so that would need to be one of the things.
that. I will
we
be walking
consider
away pretty
very-
quickly,
very,
actually.
But I mean, that's already in, but he's not taking down the
No,
building,
he's-
rebuilding
no,
it, so it's
he's not.
grandfathered
Yeah.
in
No.
variance.
We are
right?
taking
They
down
are
the building.
taking down the building, but they're using.
But they're using
similar
the footprint.
The footprint,
Yeah.
right, that's,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah,
not,
okay.
okay.
That-
Yeah.
that's-
And the DOT doesn't even want to bother with you? on
They
this?
are,
Well, because they might have
I've
to,
been,
yeah.
basically, I could
That's why.
pursue it if I want to.
Yeah,
I would have to pay my surveyor $300 to write a letter. Ask you guys to write a letter. I would have to, fight with a couple of people that don't seem like they want to talk to me and probably wait months and months for a response and probably maybe not be successful. So no, I'm not really interested in going down that road, but yeah, that's kind of where the status is.
that's really,
So no,
what-
and no explanation why that is so much wider in that
No.
particular area?
No, the surveyors even noted that there was an excessive setback, but they also noted that the DOT wasn't likely to be.
and it's only a little section. It doesn't go.
No, it's the
not a
whole
long-
length. No, it's the
It's,
whole,
all- it's all the whole piece
Yeah.
of property?
the whole property.
So the parking has to get moved back too.
So the
That's right,
parking's
you
all
moved-
moved back. I
Change
mean,
parking, yeah.
we're renegotiating. But I guess, yeah, it's affecting a lot of things. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah,
So, before you continue. So he's only 12 feet from,
Right.
right.
is that considered the property line or the DOT line?
DOT owns the
Yeah.
property, so that is. his
Yeah,
property.
well, yeah, I know, because a lot of times they go to the center of the road. That's why I was wondering.
Right, well, apparently on 96, they don't go to the center of the
Center of the
road.
road, yeah.
It's,
It also.
Lee Dresser explained it to me, they use right of way interchangeably with property,
Yeah.
and it's not right of way, it's their property.
And this property line is like you said, 47 feet. off the
47
center-
feet off the
edge.
edge of the road.
On
So
the
it's-
edge of the
it's
road, so it's
excessive.
even worse.
You know,
And then
it's
it's the 57 feet.
But
to
that
the
makes,
center.
he's only 12 feet off the property line.
Right, then he's like 50 feet off the edge of the road.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if we have to go another 30 feet back, we'll be down in the wetland zone.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
this
No,
project
no, we're
becomes
trying to
not
figure out-
viable.
Something else, how would have to go to the zoning board for that, wouldn't it?
Well, with this being a development district, I think we could make that, we can set
That's
these
true, it's- yeah.
parameters, so
Yeah.
that's.
Well, there is
Yeah.
that one section, it's a 30-foot setback on the development. But that was written in years ago.
But that's a
Sure.
development.
Creating a
district.
new development
Wait.
district. so-
I know,
Yeah.
still you're going by the business district, so,
This would
Right.
be, it's a unique thing,
I know, right, yeah, we would have to definitely word that correctly.
and it's a unique situation.
And that's the reason to leave it as a development
Yeah,
district
right.
as opposed to a,
If it was a business district, he'd be out of luck.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
But also the building is already there.
Yes,
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
He's not going out any further than. Brian
No.
already.
Is DOT going to allow you to keep the current driveway ahead of the building? The driving space that goes
If I don't
across the face?
Send them a letter, they're gonna let me do whatever's there. If I send them a letter, no joke,
Everything's
they
gonna go
said
away.
that I was gonna have to take the curb cut back to 40 feet.
Really?
Meaning they want me to plant grass on what's currently gravel and existing driveway. That's how ridiculous they are. Excuse
Then
me.
don't send them a letter.
Well, that's kind of the status we're at. It's like, I
Yeah.
can't, that means, so what the implications are, I'll, point out, first of all, is the parking is gonna have to get adjusted. Second of all, we can't put a sign out on 96 now.
Oh,
Think about signage,
that's
Right.
right.
47 feet off the road. We don't have any options for signs on 96 other than on the building itself. Which is also ridiculous, but
Yeah, I
that's
know.
where we're at.
That's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate, but yeah.
But your wall's 12 feet from the road, so actually, can you use the wall,
Yeah.
the front wall as your?
Yeah,
full-time-
but
But it
that's
doesn't
It's not the
already
same thing.
angle.
62 feet off the
Yeah,
road
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Plus he's trying to do a good job of keeping it a
Yeah,
decent
aesthetically.
wall.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it just seems logical that they would let you continue using an existing structure, but they.
Right,
when
right.
you're-
You
they were
know,
like,
the other question is, how did the other building get put up?
Wait, which
How
one?
old is
The
that
one that's
building?
there now?
It's.
I mean, it was before your
Yeah.
30-foot setback, I imagine.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, it was before that, but also since maybe they've widened the,
Oh, no,
Oh.
they illegally put the sign in.
Yeah.
Oh, they did. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Alright,
Ah.
They
alright.
just didn't talk to
Result.
DOT, they just put it up.
Yeah.
There was no permit ever gotten for the,
For any of
for
it.
that sign that's there.
Do you have other questions on this particular setback? Cause I'm just looking at the time and I know we have a lot to
Yeah.
talk about.
I've
Yeah,
got stuff,
yeah.
yeah, I'm moving. Okay, so yeah, talked about this, signs on the building, there's one 4x6 sign that we're talking about over on Halseyville, kind of. Towards the point of the property in the north end, but not like right on the point again, because the setback pushes you into the trees, so. We're basically on Halseyville as close as you can get up there. Stormwater management concept plan, that one is in process. I'm working with an engineer that I've worked with on my farming stuff, and she's on it. She's gotten she's gotten this map from you guys, and she's working on it. This is the flood zone map. So the green is I don't know, is this the
That's the
FEMA flood
wetland.
zone or is this a town flood zone?
I
think you
don't
said
think we have a town.
The town, the blue piece toward the point of the lot, that's the wetland.
Yeah, but is
Yeah.
was that a FEMA, or was it not FEMA? Yeah,
No,
FEMA,
Only
right?
wetland.
On the left side of that is where the stream is that has a FEMA boundary, but the other one's just one of the, I don't know
So
if that's a
wait.
Tompkins County wetland or not. That's up there is, I'm pretty sure is DEC or Tompkins County wetland. Is that right? I have to go back and
I'm
look
not
at
sure
maps.
which
I'm
one
not sure.
it is. Yeah.
But the one on the right is where.
What do you
had-
mean the one on the right? Which one are we talking about?
I'm sorry,
This one?
sorry,
Yes.
on the left, forgive me.
Yeah.
Slate. On the left is what I remember, and I apologize, I haven't gone back and looked at this, is what had a FEMA boundary that you had to deal with.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought last time you were talking about something that was going on the other side of the road below this culvert. So there's a
Honestly-
culvert that runs under the road. That wetland is basically a ditch. So it runs up onto the other side of Halseyville too, but runs under Halseyville there, and it's hard to see the outflow, but.
I know that we had talked about that one on the far left, cause there is a creek, and when we were talking about subdivision.
Mhm.
You know, being mindful that there's enough sort of room to be able to make that subdivision a viable place to build a house, to sell.
You have a copy of it.
But you have the engineer
That's
working
the-
on it,
what
she'll
is
be
that one
careful
from?
about it.
That Neil's provided on one
Yeah.
of the early ones. That's the flood,
Yeah.
That's it.
That's the.
FEMA floodplain
Yeah, so
Okay.
if you wanna look
Yeah,
at
I could
that.
use that.
Thank you.
along the stream there.
Yeah.
Well. That's unfortunate.
Well, I mean, that's
But-
pretty far from your plans
It's
though.
one of the
I
early
mean,
things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's not right on top of it,
Yeah,
but
all
it's-
these pages to
It's
that.
not great.
Yeah, it's not
What is this parking setback? from this?
the setback from that, well,
Oh,
that's.
can parking be given or?
as far
Well,
as
that's-
FEMA's concerned, just nothing in it.
Like, don't build a house there.
Nothing.
You're right. No parking in it then?
No, like, Well,
Should be able to have a parking lot in there if it floods, like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Man, I'll tell you, this property's got so many things going on.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it from the outside, you think it's just a flat piece of land, but
Yeah.
man.
I don't know that that flood zone hits up against your parking.
It's very, very close.
I think,
But
yeah.
I think we're
Well,
okay.
one thing that I'd recommend that your engineer that's working on this does an overlay of,
Oh, yeah,
any
yeah, I
wetlands,
didn't
any
have
flood
that.
zones
Yes.
with your
No, no, no,
plans.
for sure, that's
Yeah.
what she's doing, I didn't have that, so.
Hmm.
So what's up here is roughly our septic system and leach fields and parking area, I mean, the parking that's me just putting a square on there, I don't exactly know that's right, but the leach fields and the septic tanks are roughly in position. To where they're gonna play. And yeah, for whatever that's worth, so, and those are really the major outflows, I guess, like, what other stormwater related outflows are you guys worried about?
Runoff from your parking.
Parking area?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, especially with that creek to the south.
okay.
Yeah.
I'll get back with you guys on that in January. Okay, so retail room and patio area. It's kind of like the back side of the building, that where it says patio there, that's like the entrance kind of patio, right? You come in the door, the vestibule's on the front there, the little box. And then the larger patio is that overhang that's on the back side of the building. Okay, so this is what we're calling A2 classification assembly, and it's for the porch area that's under the overhang and the interior retail space. You can kind of see, like, when you come in the vestibule, the first thing you hit is like a butcher case, like, so that's where you buy products if you were just coming in quickly to buy sausage or bacon or whatever. And then if you wrap around the corner, then you get over to like a bar or service station where, we'd be doing food service and drink services. And yeah, so roughly that's the layout of the room. There's a large ADA bathroom on the, north side up there, and then there's a smaller bathroom below it that's in the retail space, and there would be some kind of stairs like leading off the back porch down to the yard below, and then.
It looks really good.
Yeah, it does.
Oh,
So
oh,
this
nice.
is done by the builder who we're working with, and this is the roughly what we expect the retail room minus some of the timber frame elements that are in here. The roof, the ceiling will be all pine paneled like this though, similar to this structure, but it's. Yeah, so I mean, you can envision kind of what it'll look like. There'll be some, the retail room is like here. It's kind of long and skinny, right? And then you're standing at the bar. If you're looking out from the bar, you'd be walking through like a double set of sliding doors about this width. And then you go out on the patio, and that roof line would like continue out over the patio for that first 12 feet. Yeah,
Outdoor
Yes.
seating.
outdoor seating, but yeah, visually it's gonna look really.
But it's covered by the.
12 feet.
neighborhood. That's gonna be
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
This is climbing vines. It's over in Penn and Dundee, and it's got a really, really nice pavilion structure that I would like to replicate. If we ever have the chance
That
to
is
extend
nice.
ours. Okay, noise management. I know that's a thought on everyone's mind. So. Yeah, I'm curious where you guys are at on discussion of events, and I know there was discussion generally of an event policy or regulation. One thing I'll say is like, yeah, I think we can fit pretty well within the current boundaries of the noise ordinance. I am not exactly sure what 65 decibels, I've read at the bottom what the suggested, the analogous fit of volume is, but it's not clear to me exactly what that relates to in terms of music. But yeah, in my estimation, like we would really like to have like music on, reasonable but amplified levels until about 10 p.m. and then shut that off and reduce that volume down to inaudible levels for neighbors. I know that's a little bit outside of the ordinance because the ordinance says 9 p.m. is daylight, the end of daylight hours. But I'm just putting out there what our goal would be, and I don't know how that'll fit in with the zone and your guys' decisions, but we certainly want to be really good neighbors, and I don't think we're gonna bother anybody. I know there's a lot of carrying of music, and I think directionality is a major factor in that. So one thing I'm, as the top item there, I'm trying to do is I'm gonna try to nest the stage a little bit behind the building so that it's kind of low down, kind of in the ground, buried behind an embankment and behind the building, so that as much as possible it's being directed towards like the tent area and like away from neighbors on the other side of 96 and down on Halseyville.
You could also, for a tent, you can get curtains that will muffle the sound.
Totally.
Yeah, and also if you do not put a stage up where it's up a
That's up
level.
higher, yeah.
And you
Well,
bring
that's
it
why
to
this
floor
one-
level,
yeah.
it also muffles the sound. The
Exactly.
higher up you go, the longer it's gonna go.
Exactly. That's why, yeah, we're not planning for the stage to be like up on the patio or anything like that. I'm thinking below the patio, it's tucked away. And people there can hear it, but not everyone else around. So
What do you anticipate being at 55 decibels between 10 PM and 7 AM?
what do I expect to hear?
I see that's the ordinance, 9 PM to 7 AM, 55 decibels, and I'm just wondering what do you anticipate
Being in that room?
55 decibels?
Um.
I mean, I
so
know that's
wait.
the ordinance, but like, you've
And-
got it down there.
Oh, I
you moved
guess,
it back to
yeah, I
10.
guess I see that. So in my mind, that's just basically saying like, we intend to comply with the
Mhm.
standard commercial ordinance from 10 PM onwards, and that would to me mean like, basically inaudible music at the edge of the property. I mean, I don't know, 55 decibels is like a conversation or something. It's like
Okay,
almost negligible.
okay. I just didn't know if you had something in mind, because
No,
it's to 7 AM and I'm like,
No,
what is
I'm
he
like
planning to
a
do?
acoustic music, like if somebody playing guitar with, you know, with
okay.
no amplification. To me, that like on the
Yeah.
edge of the property, that's still reasonable.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, you could use amplification even with a guitar. It's on our noise ordinance, it's mostly drums and bass.
Bass, right?
Right. I mean, a guitar at a low level, that could be fine, like an acoustic guitar
Yeah.
that's amplified would be.
Fine, yeah, I get you.
But a heavy bass,
Yeah,
obviously,
we're
you're
not
gonna hear.
rocking out bass,
Alright.
like
Alright.
speakers all night.
All right, I
like
just
that,
wanted to
but-
make sure that
No,
you had
no.
written that in, I see this.
And
ordinance
I guess is my
corresponds with
last
the
line
ordinance.
correct, that like if we did expect to have a special event that was outside of these parameters, we can always apply for a permit from the town?
Mhm.
Is that right? And
Mhm.
is it from you guys?
Mhm.
Yeah. From the town?
So just so you know, guys, just because I need to have these frameworks too, 50 decibels is like an average home, 60 decibels is conversational speech at 1 meter. 90 decibels is a diesel truck 10 meters away from you. So there's a huge difference. 50 to 60 is, you know, conversational, that's not, that would be fine.
60 is a conversation in like a club or
Yeah,
like where
1
there's
meter
music
away.
playing.
So that's pretty low. But the 90 diesel truck is pretty high.
Yeah, and this probably doesn't apply to you guys, but OSHA has at 85 decibels on the A scale, you have to have a hearing protection plan,
Right.
but that's.
Creek is down.
probably
Okay,
pretty-
hopefully we'll go over that.
Rebecca, what, could
Here's
you
90.
just tell me what
Yeah.
55 decibels is on?
Uh-huh. The average home is 50, 60 is
That's
conversational
what
speech. 70 is a vacuum cleaner 1 meter away.
I
So
think
that's, I only have
60
60 and 70.
60 is conversational speech when music is playing.
Okay.
50 is conversational speech at.
Hey, fellas, I think we should clear this up.
Yeah.
Mo raised a point that this wetland running through the property is, it's a contributory, it says Tagana Creek on his map, but that's not correct. But
This
but
is-
it contributes to.
This
Tagana
is,
Creek.
well, this is the flood map for this area for Tompkins County.
I mean, so Tagana Creek runs under 96 at the bridge, just
Oh,
beyond the
just below
property,
that,
and,
right.
and so this wetland drains into Tagana Creek, so that's what you were pointing out, correct?
Yeah, well, yes, that's what it's. that's
Just
what
to
I'm
clarify,
talking
which
about.
one are you talking about when we say wetland? Are you talking about the one on the north side or are you talking about the one?
Yeah,
On the
I'm
north
saying up on the
side,
top,
yeah, so,
right.
yeah. I just kind of wanted to clear
Yeah,
that
the
up,
bigger one up here?
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's part of the creek.
Okay,
Which is just.
but
I don't know,
everything's
just
gonna
worth
go
it.
away from that. As far as the current plan is like, our. there's no impermeable or permeable surfaces going, shooting anything that direction. All of it, like, if it hits the very north side of the building, like, kind of like the end of where the trees is, then it would start to go that other direction.
Okay.
But everything else is going back towards.
Actually, the creek, if you look just below, on the other side of the road,
Yeah,
there's a clump of trees. You see the clump of trees?
yeah, this,
Okay, right there, that, right below it, that line, right there, that's the creek.
this,
Nope, nope, keep going down, keep going, no, go up a little,
It's okay.
right in between, that's it, right there.
yeah,
Now?
That's
That's what I was saying.
part of the creek.
There's a
As
culvert
last time,
underneath.
I thought somebody, I thought it was pointing this out. that
It's
this
been a while, I haven't seen it.
Other
Yeah.
side of the road was some kind of sensitive area that I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
but
I,
that wetland goes into the creek, unfortunately.
Well, we aren't touching, other than our 4x6 sign, which is not impermeable.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
gonna cause any.
I don't think it's gonna be a problem for you at all.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah,
so I would like to give Devin a break. If you don't have other things to add. And let us have a discussion and we'll ask you questions, or you could.
I'm gonna rush through the last two things. I think there are two things I still wanna go over though.
Okay,
And then, oh no, it's just one thing. Was that right? Yes, one thing and then I'll get out of here. So the subdivision, it's really, simple. You guys asked for a 9-foot addition to the frontage and I'm having it redrawn and I should have the drawings by the end of the week. And yeah, is like the stuff we put on here, this labeling, is that sufficient, I guess, is this map gonna be sufficient for the subdivision plat? Or
could
is
you
this-
blow it up a little? Molly, or I don't know, you're the host.
Can't blow it up,
Okay.
actually, that's as,
Molly, are you able to blow it up a little bit?
can't get me zoomed in on this.
I mean, if it's a survey quality map and it's got the topo,
Yeah.
and then it's also got, any,
Oh, I can.
oh, look at that, pin, stuff like that. I mean,
So
where
a
we
basic survey quality map.
yeah, it's a survey quality map. It has all the lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the north end that he'll move up to 9 feet to
Yeah,
get,
exactly.
to get the 400 foot of frontage.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Do you need it separate from other bigger map?
Well, I mean, we wanna have the wetlands, right? We wanna have flood zones, anything like that, so you can do it all in one map, although I feel like. We usually see them in two, cause people usually have their survey map and that's just something separate that they've purchased and use it for subdivision.
So this is survey then.
Yeah. Alright. Devin, you're not leaving, are you? Alright,
No.
good, alright.
Well,
He's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
He's dropping the mic, just walking away, alright. So I did wanna look at what Niels had proposed.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
As. As some essentially rules, to apply
Mhm.
to the development district, And I have opinions about them. But I don't know if you all wanna know what they are, or if you all wanna
I have
start
some
talking.
About
I
it.
have some definite. opinions.
So maybe we could go around and give our opinions, and you can start, Rebecca,
Sure.
at that end of the table, and we can make our way around.
Okay, so, let me think. You put a lot of time into it, Niels, and I love how thorough you are. I think there's some important information. I'll say the main one, the one that is useful but doesn't really belong here, all right? And the most visible one is the whole section on wetlands. I do think our town needs some version of that, and we can talk about the details of that habitat and all, but this is not the place. Now, I realize it would be easier to put it here, and that way it's immediately in the code, but I think it's inappropriate here. It belongs like under our general permitting. This is what we expect people to do. And so you're very thorough through it. I think you must have gone to the Washington State rules or something, because like, where'd you get all that? So, we have to deal with the issue of wetlands on this property, but I don't think this is the place to have that. You need to have a wetland science specialist or scientist come and do all the evaluation. Maybe the right solution for that section is to say, and we strongly recommend to the board that this kind of, as we do our, redo our zoning, let's move that there. I could probably argue the same for part of the landscaping. I just think this is not the place to get a soapbox and start arguing, I'm a wetlands, you know, I'm all into wetlands, but this is not the place, right? My second one, I find equally important. I really don't think all these other permitted uses belong here. The way we have, at least my understanding of treating development districts historically is they are for one use. And it's there, and in this case, it's gonna be the smokehouse, and when it's gone, it's either all gone or we reevaluate it. You open up the door for, oh, we can put a community center there or this. I don't like that as a way to tackle this. It's kind of what the problem. It would have caused this problem for the Taconic Inn situation where, oh, well, but you already can do all these things and that, so I don't like having all these alternative uses. I want to have this targeted, tailored. And so, a lot of good stuff here. It's just, this is not the place to put it. That was my kind of read on it.
Other folks, what do folks have to say? Thank you, Rebecca.
I'm listening.
Very thorough.
I actually agree with Rebecca on some of that. Most of this doesn't really belong in here. But also, we would have to change the lot area and setbacks where it's the front yard setback 30 feet, we'd have to put in a not available.
You know, 12 feet, whatever. the
No,
physical is.
just nothing, because it doesn't matter if it's 12 feet or not, it doesn't make any difference really, so. Yeah, there's a lot of things in here, the permitted uses, we really don't need any of these, I really doubt he's putting in a communications tower up there.
Argue, Carl or Carl, you got
Yep.
a response?
Well,
on
one,
this?
on A of the permitted uses is butchering and processing of animal products associated with an existing restaurant use. Since he's gonna have a meat counter for direct customer sales and that, should that also include or for retail sales?
It's right below it. Look down here, at the bottom, at number 5.
That says retail stores associated, okay,
Associated with the restaurant.
all right. And then the other question I had is. There's no rear yard setback along Halseyville Road. Do you want anything along Halseyville or? Nothing? Right now, there's nothing in here about anything along Halseyville Road.
I would want a setback, yeah, I would want probably a 30-foot. Setback,
Well, if you're gonna put one in the back of the road, why aren't you putting one in the front?
because there's.
Because the highway department already owns the front.
I know that.
Because it's unique, because it's a
Yeah.
unique, it's a development district, so it's unique.
But that also brings up the question of. What is the purpose of the setback if we're talking about roads? And if there's setback, just guessing, the purpose of setback when we're talking about roads and highways is just to keep you away from the road and highway. They've already effectively done that. The DOT has done that work for us. So.
On the front
We're
side.
talking
On the
about
front
that,
side,
right,
this is
but
But not
so,
on
but he's
Halseyville
talking
Road.
about, if you do it on the back, you have to do it on the front. No, I don't see that
Oh,
being
yeah,
an issue here.
right.
You were gonna put parking on that road, weren't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's changed.
Well, it
Well,
could have.
it
well,
doesn't
future.
change, it's definitely in the future plans, but,
Future,
and that
future
would
plan,
be
On Halsey Road,
closer to 30 feet
right.
ideally, but. If there's a 30-foot setback, we'll deal with it, but it would kind of be silly to have a parking lot. With a 30-foot stretch of vegetation or like, grass between it, it would make more sense to me to not. Like interrupt the fields. By 30 feet and just keep the parking along the road.
That's one of
It's
the
a good
reasons
point.
why I said-
Yeah.
That's why I remember he wanted to put, the parking in the back, 30 feet, already starting to come pretty close
Yeah,
into the center.
Coming closer to the tent and all that.
Yeah. I mean, we can make a recommendation, or actually in here that if he's putting in a parking lot, that would be the only area that he would be able to come up to the road.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it would have
Yeah,
to be a
that would be
30-foot
totally
setback
fine.
on anything
I
else.
can see not wanting somebody to put a building right up on. the road.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
But the
Well,
parking lot
we
is-
can put that in the
Yeah.
regulations that you can only put a parking lot there, and that would be it.
Linda, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I, I didn't have anything, specific that I was concerned with. I mean, I like I understand the point about not including the permitted uses. I think we were originally talking about just copying the business
Business, yeah.
district details, and
Mhm.
so that jive with that, and now I think it's strip out what is
Yeah.
appropriate, so.
I-
That makes sense to
yeah.
me,
Go ahead, Carl. What were you gonna say?
yeah.
Well, under the exceptions to outdoor use on D under 7 down there. This outdoor dining areas were permitted. Does he need also his plan be tented event space? Since that, I think, is a significant part of his plan on there.
Hmm.
Should that be specifically added to that?
Are you gonna
Where are
have,
you
are you gonna
Is that-
improve the surface under the tent? I mean, it would make sense to wanna put, to wanna grade it potentially, to put down wood chips or to put down some kind of, surface, so it's not
Yeah.
mud.
Yes.
And so that is a semi-permanent, it's a permanent, it's kind of a semi-permanent structure in a way. I think it's not a bad idea, Carl. To include it.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I like that. Good,
Um,
Well, most places do have a tent section.
Yeah.
I found in a lot of the ordinances,
Uh-huh.
where they have a tent section, has to be inspected by the fire department.
Uh-huh.
But it is usually put in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say that Niels, I want to thank you for all the work that you put into this, because I do agree with a lot of, the concepts in here. I would like to see our zoning in regard to wetlands be less boilerplate and be more, specific in a way, and, having some sort of level of assessment and maybe, setbacks that are dependent on that.
Yeah.
I think is a really great idea. I think that's the kind of thing that we should look at from a town-wide perspective, and potentially incorporate that into our zoning changes, but I feel like here it's too targeted, it seems like it singles out this particular lot aspirationally, but too strongly.
One
Could be the
thing-
reverse salami effect, though. Just saying.
And the same with the landscaping. I'm thinking, we can have a long discussion about this, but I'm thinking, who pays for the assessment, all that stuff.
The one thing I would like is, the new plan and your little.
Presentation, yeah.
Yeah, presentation,
Yeah.
so I can take a look at it and see.
Yeah.
I mean, because we really can't make up anything until we really see what he has
Yeah.
and what he wants to do.
And I think I agree, with the fact that it's a specific district and to strip out the other uses.
Yeah.
Like if somebody did want to come along and put a community center there, you sold it to them, that's
yeah.
that's a whole different ball of
Yeah, it
wax.
is. It
Mhm.
is, but that doesn't stop him from.
Specific, yeah,
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 I will say, you're doing a great job.
yeah,
And so unfortunately, you hit a development district, so we have to really look at it, but
Yeah.
you're one of the most organized, professional people who have ever come to us to present something. So I can see you getting more agitated as more rules show up. No, you're doing a really
you are.
thorough job, and we want this to happen.
meditation.
Yeah,
But-
don't get nervous because we're asking you questions,
Yeah.
we're asking you questions, so when we make this
Yeah.
district. Everything will be correct.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you
yeah.
won't have to
No.
come back
Yeah.
here and say, oh, wait a minute.
Right.
You know,
But I
right.
understand you guys wanna get it right. So.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So I guess if we have your survey map and we have your plans that are adjusted to the new, not really that far adjusted, but like, you had some, sort of like pass through, et cetera, for like a truck to come up on the back end side. And you were gonna, I don't know if you're gonna pave that area or what, but it seems like you can't do that now because of the DOT,
that's
so what's your
totally accurate.
plans with the truck?
One of the things was going on last time, we were talking about whether trucks were backing in or off the.
Yeah,
highway. That's obviated, we're gonna have them pulling forward. There is still enough room on the north side for us to. Again, once the trucks are out of the right of way, for us to continue the driveway on the north side of the building so that they can back into our loading dock eventually. So yes, we will be improving that end of it. It's outside of the right of way, which is not.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's still the plan. It's just, we're not gonna interfere with their right of way in any kind of way.
Okay,
and that's not gonna affect the issue with the wetlands to the north.
yeah,
No, because
Okay.
there's enough room on the north side of the building that we can put 100-foot extension on the driveway. That is enough for the truck to pull up and back into the loading dock, without, like, topographically, not even
dropping off 1 foot closer to the ditch. So like, I don't know how to describe it well, but we're well out of the way of the
Okay.
ditch.
And yeah, I mean, so you're, at the end of that 100 feet of driveway, you have another 100 feet until
It's
the edge
not
of the
100
wetland?
feet there, but it's not a downhill incline there either. I would say it's probably less than 100 feet, but it's uphill.
But you gotta I mean, we wanna be able to do 100 foot setback from wetlands.
It is from the wetland. If you're talking about like from the drawn
Yeah.
wetland on that map, it's 100 feet. If you're talking about, you're gonna continue, if you're gonna call the culvert part of the wetland, it's not 100 feet. The culvert is not on the map, at least part of the wetland. You know what I mean?
I do.
He might have about 200 to 300 feet before he gets to the wetland. Before he even gets close to the wetland.
Okay. Okay.
There should be enough room, but if,
Okay.
like, if you're gonna consider every wet spot part of the wetland, that's a different story.
Yeah. No, we're only gonna consider what's on the map as a
Okay,
wetland,
then we're
and,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
alright,
Yeah, and that's north of the trees. There's a couple of trees there. It's
Yeah.
north of those trees.
The wetland,
Yeah,
yeah, so.
so you have plenty of room.
Yeah, yeah.
But we need to get that electronically so we can overlay it on our map so we can actually know.
yeah,
And who has that? Like, where do you get that?
Hopkins County.
Okay.
yeah.
Tompkins County wetland.
And Niels could probably connect you with,
Yeah, I can send you the link to, so they have the wetland data. FEMA is the one who has the GIS data, and just to let you know, they're updating their maps, and they're supposed to maybe be updated in January. Great, so maybe we can map it.
And then the
But-
rules associated with that, we could also get from
I can send you the link to
Tompkins County,
the,
like the setbacks for what types of things. and-
we have our own rules. There's like business district, there's ag, there's residential, like, they're all different depending on the district, and because you're doing a development district. We're able to set our own rules, but we wanna follow within certain parameters, and so. 100 feet from a wetland is sort of what we see as appropriate and given our rules as a whole, and so. For everything,
Improved surface of the gravel.
yeah,
As Pete knows
Yeah.
well, given Jacksonville,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
we
yeah,
were
yeah.
pretty, that was like a tough one.
it was a real tough one. I spent 2 hours in here at that stand talking about parking near a wetland. So I've been in your shoes. Yeah, and it was gravel parking, so yeah, you wanna be able to
double
stay out.
clarifying, the 100 feet applies to the FEMA ones as well as the Tompkins County ones, or just the Tompkins County?
The Tompkins County ones are I think they're the most comprehensive, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, they
Yeah,
didn't have
but the
this
Tompkins County would be the stream, the creek on the far end of the property. It wouldn't include that flood area that FEMA has.
It's actually not a creek. It's actually just like a retention pond.
North of it is.
Oh, north of that, yeah.
North is a
creek, yeah.
retention pond. To the
Right.
south end of the property is a real creek.
Yeah, yeah.
And there you have for a business district, you're talking about the 100 foot from the bank of the creek.
So,
Let me look them up again, because if,
Okay.
all right, I haven't refreshed my mind about
Yeah.
what they are, the FEMA. Just so you know, technically, as you're probably aware, there's a creek and then there's a wetland, and you have to delineate the edge of the wetland, and then the buffer starts, the 100-foot buffer. But the width of that buffer is dependent on whether it's an impermanent stream or a permanent stream, okay? And then it's also subject to different rules, Tompkins County versus the state. The FEMA one's interesting. I don't know the rules specifically for FEMA as opposed to elsewhere, but I mean, FEMA's legal and it has a lot of like your flood insurance involved and things like that, so it's not trivial. I haven't gone back and looked at what you're dealing with in it, so, but Tompkins County's GeoPortal will map the buffer edge. It actually will, when you go to the GeoPortal interactive map for the natural resources, it'll show you what they call any kind of stream is, whether it's federal or town or Tompkins County, and then it'll put in the buffers for you. Oh, you want a 50-foot buffer here. Those are so I don't know which of the maps you're looking at, but that'll show you right where your buffer is, and that is what you can't develop it. Okay, you can't put stuff in. Does that clarify a little bit? And
A little bit, but I'm still not quite clear if that's applying to all of the wetlands, because this map, the FEMA map has this wetland, but it doesn't have the one on the north side.
Right.
And the other one has the north side map for the wetlands, but it doesn't have this one, so. that's
So
very,
the other map is Tompkins County,
Yeah.
so that's why I haven't looked at.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we use Tompkins County and sometimes DEC. So, I mean, I feel like those are the maps that,
we will research what Tompkins County has for sure.
You should
And
share.
My engineer probably will also have a lot of this stuff as well, so. We'll ask her if she's gotten any details, but.
Yeah, cause this is the stream down
Yeah,
on
no,
here on the
yeah.
bottom side.
Yeah.
In the property line.
Mhm.
So,
yes, Tompkins
So
County,
true.
DEC and,
Yeah,
This is it.
there's, when it comes to wetlands, there's three. We've got federal. On the national level, state and then local, so locals being Tompkins County.
This is below them. So
Yes.
this is the stream.
That's
oh,
what part of it.
I wanna hear what, Neil's is saying, guys. Hang on,
So we do have wetlands in the south, but you also have that stream that connects
Yeah.
it to Gannet eventually. Not all streams are in the FEMA floodplain. This one is. So that's on a national level.
so I just want to give them a clear understanding of where they need to be delineating their buffers from, because they're planning this parking area and they're planning their other part. And so I know that when we look at proposals that come before us, I know we're looking at Tompkins County. And I know we're looking at DC. We don't often see the FEMA, I don't think.
That's because there aren't many places
It's
in
'cause there
our
aren't many
town that have the
places.
FEMA regulation in place. That's-
Okay,
But Tompkins County, so. The National Wetland Inventory, so the national ones, aside from FEMA, are not legally binding, all right, they're a recommendation. Except for the FEMA, which is. Insurance, it's a legal insurance level, but I wanna see whether that's a 100-year floodplain map, I don't remember. All right, now, the Tompkins DEC is the only one that's legally binding for across the state. It's a DEC wetland, which has to be a certain size, and they missed a bunch of them. So I don't know if that one at the end, upper edge of his property is a DEC wetland. Now, if it's a Tompkins County, because they actually, Starby, I know who mapped them. It was more thorough than DEC. I don't know that we have that in our current regulations, that we follow a Tompkins County. So legally, I don't know that that is something we have to look at it. I haven't looked at it. All right, so we're getting into some gray areas that I'll definitely take a look. The engineer should take a look to see what is the FEMA is the one I'm more concerned about than the one at the top. I mean, I do care about tributaries to the Gannet Creek and respecting those wetlands. I mean, that's all I really care about. But legally, I'm not sure the north one is the one that has to follow, all right? It's not that big, it's not connected, right? So I'll look at it again, and I'm happy to talk to the engineer about it.
She's engineer, but we hope to hear from her soon.
Yes,
Okay,
engineer is Jessica Skinner, somebody else.
oh, okay.
So we can definitely put something get started just to make sure we're not like
Yeah.
slacking and doing something.
And I mean, I know it's not good timing. I'm away next week like most people are, but after that, I would be happy to come in and talk to Niels and your engineer about it and just try and figure out exactly, because I mean, you're working really hard at this and then to have to,
I'm just feeling stupid for offering so much money for this property that now is not worth next to nothing. I mean, it's basically been cut up in so many ways now that it's just like, I mean, it's not anybody's fault, I'm just,
it's a hassle, but I think you've picked a brilliant thing. I think it's
Yeah.
brilliant. No, honest, I
Yeah.
think it's like, oh my God, you picked the
Yeah.
perfect places. So,
Yeah.
but, and that's why I said that earlier, these are hassles, but I don't, like, oh, now you have a road right in front of your property, shot, sheesh. But, I think you've done something that's brilliant, so.
And I'll second that. I think your location is excellent and
Yeah.
it's very well
Thank
fitted to what you're trying to achieve. And I think, I think we all think it's a good addition to Town Ulysses, Trumansburg.
I'll hold it up.
Yeah.
Right, so we'll work with you to get you, so you know what you're dealing with.
I won't worry about it.
All right,
It's really well.
just leave it there. So I'll come in and talk to you about it some more.
All right, so we want to get you the guidance that you need. And so that will be coming from Niels and Rebecca. At some point, do you know what roughly you'd be able to sort of provide them with.
Well, I can provide them with what our local law says.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I'll look over the maps to see what kind of wetlands, what those are. And then talk about what's good, what is given. And so the week of January this 1st, not next week, but after January 2nd, I can be.
so our next meeting is, it's the third. Third Tuesday in January, because we're not meeting the first one. So I think they're gonna provide you with some information. You'll be able to more solidify your plans, and when you have a more solidified plan, if you can send that to us along with sort of what you did tonight, then we can do some of our homework and look at how, you know, we can zone this district in a way that's going to protect the wetlands, protect the character of the neighborhood, and you know, produce an area that you want to do business in. And we will take it from there.
Cool.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate it.
all right.
All right, see you in January.
All
Yep.
right. Thank you.
Yeah, well, okay, so is there time for follow-up questions?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
guess, we, you know, Cheryl and I have been running through designs and sketches and all this stuff, and, as, we're trying to navigate this process, you guys obviously, and it's my first major building project, so I'm learning a lot of curves, for the first time, but, you know, I guess the question is like, we're gonna present an elevation, we're presenting a bunch of, you know, various elements of building, what the frontage is gonna look like, how big the retail space is gonna be. Any number of things you could point to, and the question is like, you know, where's this flexibility in the conversation, when it comes to, you know, rubber hitting the road, and say a stone wall has to move 10 feet, or the vestibule shape changes, or whatever, windows go in a different place. Are we gonna have like issues in month, in the nth month when we like make some adjustments? Like if Cheryl and I continue to adjust the building and respond to the changes, et cetera.
Yeah.
Are you guys gonna have an issue with updates that are not significantly diverted from the current plan?
I mean, we're gonna basically create the development district that's gonna have some key things like, you know, setbacks, like there'll be, you know, some language around, you know, building size, et cetera, you know, parking, lot coverage. But as long as your changes are within those parameters, then it, you know, it shouldn't be a huge, it shouldn't be something that you need to come back to us on,
Right.
unless it's like, hey, we're gonna do a totally different design of
Yeah,
the building,
yeah,
but like, I
No.
mean, does that sound correct to, I just want to refer to.
Windows
my
and stuff like
colleagues.
that is not that important, because sometimes you have to move the window
Yeah.
because of some unknown reason.
And the roof line, the ridge line changing wouldn't be a problem, like we can
Yes, we-
work on, we're gonna continue to develop the design once we find out if.
Yeah,
the
well, I
project
think,
is built.
I mean, ideally, we'd like to see the final design, and that's what we're talking about, and that's what we approve, and so I think if. You know, if you have something that's significantly different, like, you know, the height is something
We're
that we
pretty
look
good.
at.
That is
That's
something
in the
that's
rules.
consistent across all the rules. The height is not something we
Yeah,
change.
Are you gonna give
But
a
inside the
parameter for
building,
that?
we never look at the building.
there'll be a top end, yes.
Right, and as long as we don't go over that, that would be, I mean, we're not really planning on.
32.
changing tonight, but-
It's
32.
Yeah,
Everybody, it's 32.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
32.
That's, anyways, doesn't matter. Okay, yes,
Yeah.
sounds all right to me.
I mean, sometimes when you're doing construction, you run into something where you're like, wow, this really doesn't work. It's gotta shift a little this way or shift a little that way. I mean,
Yeah,
I think where we run into problems is when somebody comes in front of us with the design that's really vague and doesn't really reflect what they want to do. Right, and then we say, well, come back with what you actually want to do.
Yeah.
And if you come back, and if you come to us with what you actually want to do, which is gonna have a lot of detail. And you need to make some minor adjustments, that's better than just kind of coming with a blank slate.
You're really good compared to most of what we get.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
even at this
I
point.
guess I worry though, like certain things could come up, like budgetary things
Mhm.
relating to like, oh, how elegant is this patio gonna be, or how elaborate? We're gonna, of course, try to do the best job we can, but like, if we can't afford certain features, we're just not gonna put them in, and.
Yeah.
So the aesthetics isn't, I mean, it's would be like if you said, oh, we're gonna take that gravel permeable substrate and now we're
Yeah,
making it all
completely.
tar.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, oh, with suddenly we have a stormwater runoff.
I
We're
think-
usually looking at the impacts,
Yeah,
like on stormwater, noise, how it's affecting the neighborhood, not
Yeah.
like, oh, you move the rooms around inside. As long as you have a
Well,
bathroom.
sometimes,
Yeah.
you know, the boards are concerned about the details, but yeah, so I'm glad it sounds like we're on the same page.
for example, if you have, an enclosure around your dumpsters. And you're like, oh man, we can't afford that, we're just gonna scrap it,
Right,
that's very different.
it's a functional.
Than
thing,
saying, you know what,
Yeah,
we're gonna build our enclosure out of, this material as opposed to that material.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you can't build a patio, you just don't build a patio. That's all there is to it.
We're gonna build that. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't, we don't get too tight, but yes. We will, we'll come back to you guys in January and bring everything we got.
And give us as much as you have
And
before
I'll
then.
send all this right now, I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the plans we just got finished up now, so you basically have the elevation that we're gonna send you today is like. I would hope it's next to done,
Mhm.
it's, other than those minutia changes, it's finished product.
I mean, we like to get submissions of material a week ahead of the meeting, so we all have a chance to look them over.
Yeah, we're meeting with the builder in the first week of January, so we're gonna go over every material and then have this settled for you guys by the January meeting.
All right, and then we also meet the first Tuesday in February.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, so board liaison report, the floor is yours, Rich.
No, maybe I'm not. This will come back to the town board.
Yeah, and I mean, I just wanted to ask what, as far as our process goes and what we're looking at, we're trying to incorporate our existing zoning with the needs and the idiosyncrasies of this property. Do you have any suggestions from the town board perspective?
I think you're doing. Into traffic. It's a challenging property.
Oh, boy, is it
A lot of
ever.
idiosyncrasies.
Yeah,
So I think you're doing. Go ahead, try.
okay, all right. Yeah,
I was thinking about it while he was talking about the tenting aspects, like we need that to be out.
yeah,
I think more clearly
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
too, because he hasn't really addressed that yet, but we need to be much
I
careful
looked
about
into
that.
some of the other
Yeah.
town ordinances about tents, and they do have some ordinance about tents, when they can go up, when they have to come down.
Yeah,
That type of thing. How permanent is it? Also, do you improve the when you're improving the property, is that
Yeah.
considered a tent? Yes, it is actually, because you can improve the property. You don't have to put a tent on it. So if you wanted to, level that out, put gravel, he's allowed to, in the
yeah,
building.
right.
And if he wants to put a tent up after, that's fine. But yeah, they do have some restrictions, not a lot. I mean, the only thing they really are concerned about is fire. Because tents are, if a tent goes on fire, it goes very quickly.
Yeah, but, well, the noise abatement piece of it too, and.
Well, that's
Yeah.
another thing. Yeah, I looked at a lot of noise. I've been working on that, on
Yeah.
noise, in all the other different towns, and I'm trying to compile it all. And then I'll write it all out, and then you can look at it and
Yeah,
see.
cool.
But they have, most of them have, quiet time. Some of them go at 9, like Ulysses has it at 9 quiet. Some go to 10. Most of them go to 10. Some go to 11. But after that, there is no noise. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
From 9 to 7, or from 10 to 7, there is nothing. But they also do have items about bass beat, drum beat, because that's what you can actually hear.
Right.
And that is concerning. And if somebody complains, and there's a whole organization in the United States about noise, if somebody complains about health issues with the bass beat, some people have reaction to it,
Right.
being bass.
PTSD.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
that would just end the noise right then and there. Because they win, you lose. That's the way it works in the United
Mhm.
States now,
Yeah,
because of the noise pollution. And New York State is up on noise pollution. That's why we see the 90 decibel motorcycle, you
Mhm.
know, and all that's, and then, and every town is now getting stricter and stricter when it comes to noise.
Yeah.
Because they're saying it's a lot to do with health issues.
Absolutely.
So
Mhm.
that's gonna be a concern, when he wants to put music in. And almost every town has permits. It is not, you don't have to pay for the permit. What the permit is basically, it's an online permit. I'm gonna have a party from, 5 to 10. We're gonna have music, and that way the town can put it on their website or send emails to the people who are concerned. You can register with the town saying, if there's noise, we would like to know.
Yeah, it's also a way to restrict it too, like you can't have any more than, I mean, over the net, can you do? Restrictions like no more than 10 permits a year or something like that.
Yeah, they do have that with the permit.
Well, we have,
Do we?
Chris, yeah, you're not allowed more than 3 or 5 special.
Oh, that's right.
permits.
I
That's
remember
the-
a discussion about that. It's
But
probably
this
where I
would,
got the idea.
yeah, this would be, and they do have, the way the permit is written out, it has an ordinance all on it. And if you, the penalties could be either monetary or you do not get a permit again.
Yeah,
That's the way it works. And they do have, a lot of towns are now restricting fireworks only to national
Yeah.
holidays and whatever.
That's a great idea.
yes.
You need to look at
I am.
We
I'm
do,
gonna write
yes.
that. and
We have a
I'll-
neighbor
that. Yeah.
that for his birthday was for almost a week,
Yeah.
the cats were climbing.
How old was he?
Well, a
62,
lot of
60 or something
the,
like
a lot of the fireworks, what they're restricting a lot is not so much the colorful ones, but at the end, they always have the mortars that go
Yeah,
off,
right.
That's
which is
the one.
just intense.
Yeah.
That you can't do anymore.
They have noiseless fireworks.
Well, they
The-
do.
Yes, those, but those are usually pretty high up,
Yeah.
and I mean, they're explosions, but they're not.
Yeah.
They're
Really
probably
terrible,
expensive,
but it's the
yeah.
mortars that are at the end that
Yeah.
are really intense.
Yeah.
And, yeah, people have problems with that.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to ask, Rich, as the town board liaison, is there an update on the Atlantic as far as like where the
They
town board is?
they postponed their last 2 meetings.
Yeah.
We were ready for them to come in and they're retweaking their design. I think in January or February they're coming back.
Oh.
I have a feeling they want to probably put up a pavilion for weddings. and-
We wanted to go live.
Yeah,
All right, well, with that said, I would accept the motion to
Yep.
adjourn
Yep.
got it.
Yes.
and I'll.
Happy holidays, guys.
Just say thank you. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna apologize. I didn't see it. On the- so that's-